which we decided must be in a library. So we started hunting our way through. Found a few bits and pieces, nothing huge. Thaddeus found a very nice bookmark. Well, it was very nice after he cleaned it. And then he very kindly cleaned a ring that I found down the side of an armchair, which is obvious because armchairs are evil and they eat things. People don't realize this, but most of the furniture in the world that we're living in are actually mimics who are just very good at sitting still. We then discovered the dining room, and some cells. Garros noted that these are the ones that we were going through are a lot nicer than the ones that he and Aether had gone through, the floor below. Then we heard, Thaddeus heard some voices, and we started realizing that the noise that a certain dwarf had made when he decided he was going to sneak and then fall over.
No idea what that was about.
No, absolutely. Was sadly loud enough that the people below us decided to come up and have a look. So we were trying desperately to keep ahead of them. We did finally, however, find the abbot's old bedroom. And Hacrius found part of his book. I've got leather-bound, brass lock, but first part only. It had been ripped in half. Then we all made a break for it downstairs, hopefully keeping ahead of the people that seemed to be following us. Then there was a crate with a shipping label marked with something that Thaddeus recognised as the Glacier Schools.
Yes, the curious straight down to investigate what Stu lots ran away.
It's an interesting sound.
Says I could step out of the window.
You could. You disappeared out the window. We legged it. Sadly, with somebody behind us. The youth whose name was Wesley. Still not sure what his surname was, or even if Wesley was his surname. I did try to cast a command to give us a bit more time, but sadly he threw it off. But he also then decided that trying to chase after us was too much like hard work, so he ended up by going, stay out, and then slammed the door behind him as he went back in. And we all basically met up with Thaddeus, apparently as an elf who didn't like woods. I remember that much. But he did find the invoice, which had been sent by Cavendish in the medical box. We also healed the cut that he'd managed to get when he sliced himself with a scalpel.
And investigated the random bits of magical supplies that I actually managed to snatch.
So it seems like it was a basic, large first aid box that the Glacier School had asked for, and it was a week, if I remember rightly, before he disappeared.
Thereabouts.
Ish. We then tried to send a message to Aether. Don't know whether it found him, but we also left a note for him on the bus stop to say that we were going back to Finnegar and going to grab some sleep on the boat. Sorry, ship.
And now we find out whether he read that note or not.
Indeed.
So, Aether,
that's basically where we were.
Where have you been?
Where have I been? I don't know.
We decided you went outside. You were going round the abbey.
I went off on an adventure and I met these lovely dwarfs, and then I bumped into these goblins. I fell down this cavern. I met this weird little creature. We had this riddle game. I got a ring off of him. I also watched my cocky. He's like, that's not a... And I was like, yes it is. And it disappeared. I fought these spiders. And there was this dragon.
I'm sensing a pattern here. I don't know where from though. I'm sure I've heard this before.
It seems much longer than a book I once read.
And that's how he reached level 27.
I'm pretty sure you can make that into at least 3 movies. We stretch it out, add a few elves in. A love interest.
Just wait, they'll...
Seriously, if they were doing it properly, there should have been 6 movies. Nobody ever does it properly.
Just wait, they'll adapt the Silmarillion and turn it into a half-hour TV special.
I read the Silmarillion every year. I'll have you know.
It would take me about a year to read it.
Yeah, you start in January.
No, I am a devourer of books.
I think that's how you're supposed to read it. You're supposed to use your eyes.
I knew there was something I was doing wrong. Damn. But they're so tasty.
It's the glue.
Broiled over a
It's the glue that gets you.
flame.
Stina, I've encountered a slight issue. The notebook I've been using to take notes on intelligence study is the same notebook I've been making notes about the game in, and there's no pattern to it. I just randomly pick a page and write down in a hurry.
Awesome.
So, for instance, here I've got Kosh, 7 silver, coastal coffee card, etc., etc. The intelligence failures of the Soviet Union and the few of the state that inhabited it.
That's amazing. And
I think
it might actually work. Suddenly it all makes sense.
Indeed. Now,
Closest I've got to current notes.
Excuse me.
as we started last time, I've got the thing going on Twitch. So, if anyone turns up in the chat, you can pop in there. And if you turn your attention to Roll20, you will notice that we are currently where we left off in Finnegar.
Well, oh yeah, okay. There is a red dot. You are here.
Yes. Well, what?
Is this pre or post sleep?
At the moment, it's around sleep. So if there's anything you want to discuss before sleep, you can do. Otherwise, you can skip straight to the cornflakes.
I'm just sorting my spell slots in case any shenanigans are to be had. Not to giving myself an extra long rest.
Indeed. Well, is there anything you want to cover before sleep?
Don't think so. I think we'd actually done most of our mutterings while we were on the bus.
Yeah.
Oh, and waiting for the bus. So I don't believe there was much more that we wanted to.
I think we're most waiting for Aether to show himself again.
Indeed.
Well, it has, as you might imagine, been a fairly miserable night, as it usually is this time of year. A mixture of sleet and rain and snow all mixed in. And you've got settled down in the saloon, you've got nice dry warm clothes on. And eventually the door opens and Aether steps in. The weather still very apparent on him.
Aether, you're still alive. Did you get our note?
Make a perception check.
Who? Me?
You.
Ooh,
Yes,
not bad.
you did get the note.
Huzzah!
Aether starts tipping out his pocket and everything's just soaked, and there is a note in there, and just crumpled up wet piece of paper. There's also the things, there's shell casings, there's a broken magnifying glass. Like, yeah?
What?
Why did I keep drinking?
I'm not going to ask.
The note, back when you originally picked it up, was pinned to a bus stop and read, Aether, we're walking home.
Which we then commenced to didn't do. So we took the bus.
Exactly.
Where were you? What happened?
I got distracted.
You went
I
off?
met this dame. She offered me a job. No, I couldn't say no. And next thing you know, I discovered a pizza parlor that was delivered by prostitutes because they were serving 2 needs at once. You know, a city that had a statue as its mayor because we couldn't say no, and it was this whole thing.
It's just a town that can't say
I'd
no.
say no. It's terrible.
I wasn't the hero they wanted, but I was the hero they needed.
And the disaster they deserved.
That
And I'm
sounds
just
more
going to
more
flop
like
down in a chair and just let a puddle congealed around me.
inch slightly away from Puddle.
Well, is there anything you want to confer about before tucking in for the night?
Well,
If not-
considering Aether doesn't appear to actually either A, remember what he was doing because he wasn't there, or, I mean, basically we'll sort of bring him up to date with what we found, which we sort of have.
And what
And
have you
looks
found?
slightly, well, we found a very nice bookmark. The book, or part of the book that Hacrius needs, a nice little engraved ring, and the knowledge that the chemist that I started this quest trying to find sold the Glacier School a medical box to presumably aid them in their search here. That apparently is it. I'm not totally sure why we're at the Abbey.
You were at the Abbey because one of you had, for some reason, got hooked on the idea of finding Wesley Crowther. I'm still not entirely sure how you got to that, but...
Is so
The bartender asked us to find him because he'd been stealing stuff from the bar, so we figured if we could find him and sort of beat him up a little bit, he could tell us what the Glacier School was actually doing there, and we could also probably get some sort of reward from the bartender as well. 2 birds with one stone.
well, we can at least let him know that the younger of the 2 figures that we saw, not the one with the hat and the beard, the one that had the sort of weird staff wandy thing and the book, was the Crowther that he was looking for.
Yes.
So there you go. He's there.
And you also found an incentive to go elsewhere.
What was that?
The medallion.
Incentive is such a strong word. More
I
like
know.
a slight suggestion.
So what medallion was this?
Bing! The one on the not quite so old corpse
Oh, right,
in
gotcha.
the cellar.
Right, okay, where's that leading us to?
The Crimsonkeep, which was the Red Castle.
Yes.
Do we know what the significance of the Crimsonkeep is?
No.
What's drawing us to it? Why are we going?
Very beautiful.
Well, that was melodic.
I know.
Sorry about that.
Well, we know that the Red Castle was a thriving town a while ago. The tech in the castle was almost like magic. Rumours of what was there. It was destroyed in a massive civil upheaval. It's now just called Crimsonkeep. Supposedly a ghost town. Rumours of people there. George de Quonset is an adventurer who went to the Crimson Keep and sought out residents. I don't know, to be blunt, but that might be where the key for the double set of doors down in the
We're
cellar
looking for a key.
went.
That's all I needed to know. So the key was the plate, basically,
Yes.
wasn't it? It was like a
Yeah.
brick or plate or something.
Yeah.
Cool.
Sort of octagonal, lozenge sort of shape,
Yes.
which seemed to match the blunt trauma impact into this poor man's chest.
Well, I can work with that.
But
Screens.
it's more the sort of as interesting as this is, I worry that it's still not helping me find my chemist.
Mm.
I'm gonna sit across from Ashton, look her dead in the eye. I'm gonna pull out a pack of really sodden cigarettes and try light one. Give up. Just put it down and go, Ashton. I have to tell all my clients this eventually. He's probably dead.
Well,
What's
yes.
important is that we move on and we find a more profitable enterprise with our time.
Well, in
Like-
which case that means me going back to the hospital and picking up where I left off.
Or we could find out what killed that young man. That might be profitable. I mean, there might be people that need your help. Walk behind that door. There might be the dead that need seeing off properly behind that door.
Oh no, that's just cruel. Damn, it might be.
Cool.
Or there might be something worth a while behind the door.
All that.
That doesn't actually appeal, I'm afraid. I don't have any interest in gold.
Well, I do.
What if you donated the gold to the hospital?
I work for the hospital. I donate my time and my expertise.
Doesn't seem a fair trade.
Well, I enjoy it. I'm also still worried where and why all of the ice water is being taken, but we seem to have gone on a rather weird side quest because of your fixation on the Glacis school.
Yeah.
Still not totally sure where and why that's all about.
I'll be honest with you, I've lost track of that myself. But I've got a point to prove now, and I'm going to stick to it.
Which is where I am with regard my chemist. I'd like to at least, if he is dead, I'd like to recover the body, give it a decent burial, and
Maybe
hopefully
it's
bring...
behind that door.
That seems very unlikely.
Thank you, Thaddeus. I think that is a huge reach. I think that is a huge reach.
Well, if there's anything else you want to go through in the evening, you can do. Otherwise, long rest, reset, heal up.
Long rest is good, I think. How do you go over in here to say it's a long rest?
There is, I believe, a button on them.
Let's heal damage. Okay, let's have a look at the other one then.
On what now?
Oh no, that's in D&D Beyond, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think you just manually go through it all.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah, I was trying to see if there was a quick way of doing it, but there isn't. So, all spells back up. I didn't take any damage.
Ooh, I need to see the spells back. Oh, they've all been reset anyway when Andrew did the pitches. Cool.
Shiny.
Okay. Oh, I'd forgotten that. I must admit, I am intrigued with the doors. It's like an itch I can't scratch. Oh, fine. Okay. Curse me. Curiosity.
You know what they say, curiosity did something to a cat. I don't know what, but I'll investigate it and find out.
And then prosecute curiosity to the full extent of the law.
Oh, I was just going to
To the
blackmail
extent
it.
of the paw.
Yes. So you wake up in the morning, rested and refreshed. You have time for breakfast. And then it's up to you what you want to do. Do you want to investigate Crimsonkeep? Do you want to see if you can acquire Crowther? Do you want to go back to Froghampton and hunt around for things? Do you want to return to Rimeport?
I'm happy to go to Crimsonkeep because I'm looking for a bit of adventure now and something to do.
I'm guessing that insofar as we have any leads, they actually lead towards that.
Yes, I'm afraid you're right.
Yeah, the only lead we have is Crimsonkeep.
For the doors, definitely. I've got nothing to help me find that poor chemist, except we haven't even had any ideas about where, because he just spirited away, which really worries me. But I'm also intrigued about the doors. Curse my curiosity.
That's what your cat said.
Okay.
So to Crimsonkeep, then?
Yep, Crimsonkeep.
I think that's going to be the way. I mean, I don't know where the other part of your book has gone, so
Yep.
Crimsonkeep is a possible for Hacrius.
Yeah, they've been popular.
I can't see why his colleagues would have taken the thing that killed him and ripped a book apart. But hey, they've ripped this. They've ripped this one apart. Maybe it's, I don't know. Bizarre.
Oh no, I'm being savaged by a small spaniel.
Arf, arf! So, off you go then. Do you want to go by road or by boat?
Would a boat help? I mean, I know Garros has got his Maverick.
Seems
But-
like we could get halfway by boat.
It does look like that, doesn't it? Because
The river is actually navigable all the way up to Crimsonkeep, at least for a boat that size.
I would say let's go by boat, it'll be faster.
If nothing
Yeah.
else, it's helpful to have the house with us.
true.
Yeah,
As long as Garros
it's
doesn't
like a
mind.
portable base.
Yeah, sure.
Well, as long as the captain agrees, then that sounds like a plan.
Yar!
Oh dear lord. Feniston, don't
I
phone
hear
me
that a lot.
So we cast off then?
It's up to you, Captain.
Yep. Let's cast off.
You cast
Knit one,
off.
Pearl one. Knit one, pearl one.
You point the boat upwards. I know all the words.
You do, don't you? I feel safer already.
The amusing thing is, of course, that I actually do what with my work, but it's far more fun not to.
It's always far more fun not to.
Yeah. And you set sail up the river. You
You know, that reminds me of that other river I got stuck up, and I didn't even have a paddle.
Haha.
Oh, I've been there. Nice place, bit smelly.
Don't drink the water.
Definitely not. And you sail under a bridge, and shortly after that, there's a fork in the river. So
Watch out
you
for a knife. Watch out for the spoons.
So you follow the northern fork, and soon enough you find yourselves around Crimsonkeep. And
As I said, the only information I have is, Thaddeus discovered and alluded to the rest of us, is that it is a ghost town.
Yep.
But there are a few people possibly still on the outskirts.
Now this is a very preliminary map. I only started making it this afternoon, so it's not finished.
Good grief.
What?
I recognize that program.
Yes, you do.
It's very convenient.
It is handy. Takes some work to adapt it, of course, but
It's a good bassist.
yes.
Okay,
So you
Alright,
sail.
yeah.
You sail up the River Azel, not to be pronounced in Dutch, and where do you want to go, Skipper?
I guess we'll dock in the...
Are there any movements in town as far as
Yeah, does it actually look abandoned?
It looks more than abandoned. It looks pretty much knackered.
Is there a crow's nest on this boat of ours?
I think it has all the mod cons, so I would assume there's a crow's nest.
There's not much of one. It's mostly it's a steamboat, and so it's got a little mast sticking up, but mainly for the lanterns.
How good are you balancing?
I'm going to climb to the highest point I can safely get to on the boat and just sort of scan the what we can see of the Crimsonkeep. I'm pretty much looking for anything that looks like an inn or a tavern or anywhere with smoke coming out the chimney, anything like that.
You see a wisp of smoke coming from somewhere in the middle, maybe around this square here, that sort of place.
Is
But,
that notch? Is that notch there actually a harbour?
Yes, it is.
Is it still there?
is it still usable?
Well, that's what I was wondering, yeah.
It's still there. And,
It's your boat, Gareth.
I mean,
Where do you want to put
stone
it?
is stone.
Well, I'll guess if the harbor seems like it's usable, we can use that. Otherwise, somewhere along the coast.
The harbour looks safe enough.
Then we'll head to the harbor.
All right. So you sail into the harbour
Goodness me.
and you tie up. The town is pretty ruined. You can see that it's been sizable and affluent once. There's a lot of stuff architecturally and technologically that you would consider fairly advanced even now. For instance, this bridge that you sailed past down here, that's not a stone bridge. That's made of iron.
Really?
Makes you wonder why people left.
Doesn't it?
Well, The only thing that we
find
had
out
was
in the most horrible way possible.
the thing that Sadius discovered was that the tech was almost magic-like. So RPG. So somebody got very, what's the word I'm looking for? Envious.
Got their nose put out of joint by it, maybe?
Decided they wanted to come and take it all themselves, or just stop anybody else using it. It's very petty.
I mean, I could answer those questions, but it would be a short adventure.
Oh, go no. Well,
Can
when
we
you
actually see the titular keep from where we're at? And if so, about how far away is it?
It's up here in the northeast corner of the town.
we're not going to be close enough to see that bit yet. I mean,
You can, if you get up to a bit of height, you can see that there are a couple of sort of largish voids, like here and here and here.
Scanning
But
the buildings
that's-
around us, does it seem to be any that are inhabited, any signs of life?
How
Tracks
gutted
in the
is this?
road.
Well, you know, have you ever seen photos of Brussels from about 1944, 1945?
are we talking Blitz level, sort of?
I have of Ypres, I assume it's the same thing.
Yeah, imagine sort of,
Rubble?
imagine about 200 to 300 milliblitzes.
Right.
Ooh. Somebody really didn't like this town.
You know, so it's not fully raised, but it's
Oh.
seen much better days.
I'm assuming from where we are,
Yeah.
we don't actually have the buildings that the map in front of us gives the illusion of.
No.
It is basically the occasional vertical wall,
No,
but everything else is sort of...
as I say, 200 to 300 milliblitz. So it's not flattened. It's
Okay.
about 0.2 to 0.3 blitzed.
So the houses on the map are the skeletons, so to say, of the houses
Yes.
that used to be.
Most
Some
of the
may
buildings are still identifiable as buildings.
Okay.
Some
With or
are
without
almost
possible
intact.
roofs.
Others
Okay.
are basically piles of rubble. Quite a lot of them have signs of burning.
So you mentioned before that there was smoke from one building.
I think it was somewhere in here.
Yep, somewhere in the middle. And he
Okay.
couldn't make out exactly which building.
Shall we, gentlemen?
To return to my previous question about how far is it to the keep?
Hard to say exactly, but certainly no more than a kilometre.
Right.
It's not a big town.
Oh no, we're
It's
there.
not a
I'm
very
going
tall
to,
town either.
I'm
No.
going to walk off in the direction of where I saw the smoke.
Yep.
Lead the party that way.
Follow on.
I realize
Yeah.
I have a spell that might be useful for Hackria's sake, but we need to get a bit closer first.
Ooh, what's that?
I have a finding spell.
Ah.
Handy.
And I thought I should give it a go and see if I can find the other half of the book, but we need to be closer.
Well, how are you kitted out? Just to check.
I'll have my rifle ready.
Okay, so you're wandering through this empty town in full battle order.
Wow. I have my rifle in my hand.
Okay.
Aether will just be walking very casually, one hand in his trench coat pocket, which is holding one of his pistols, but not, drawn or anything, just subtly, and the other one just swinging freely as he's walking.
Okay.
And I'm always equally prepared or unprepared, depending on your definition of the state.
Yes.
So all my stuff, which ain't much, in my backpack and stuff in my hand.
Well, shield is with me. So is mace, but that's hanging from my belt, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And I do have a light crossbow, but I'm not going to be having it to hand. Basically, I am walking both hands empty, just casually looking from sort of left to right.
All right. Well, you wander
Like I look
wander along these streets, and
Yeah.
you exit onto a large square in the middle of the town.
Are the circles what's left of statues or what's left of wells?
This one is a sort of, those fountains that have little pumps installed in them.
Uh-huh.
It's one of them. It looks pristine and in full working order.
Interesting.
And in fact, the whole square seems to be kept in good order.
That's a sharp contrast to the devastation around us.
Definitely a bit odd.
Across the square, you see a large building, clearly an inn. There is smoke coming out of the chimney. And the second circle you can't see yet, because there's an inn in the way.
Ah, okay.
Damn you, physics. I suppose we should check out the inn then.
Well, considering it's the only thing that's actually got any sort of signs of,
Right.
yeah.
How does the
Contrary to what
building
I
itself
know.
look? Is it in good condition or is it
It is.
slightly blitzed?
It's, it's of an older style architecturally speaking, but it's been well maintained, and it looks like any other inn.
That's
Shall we?
strange. Yes, probably should.
I'll put away the rifle.
Okay.
Maybe they do ghost tours.
Maybe they do a good cheese sandwich. Let's find out.
Indeed.
And I'll walk in.
Just checking here, Hackers. Are you trying to talk or just accidentally scratching your mic?
Oh, I think I'm just accidentally scratching the mic, I think.
Just checking that we actually can still hear you.
Alright. You enter. And just give me a perception check, all of you.
How about you?
Eek. Arg.
Fantastic.
Come here, dice.
Okay.
Perception. 21.
Goody good. Well, Thaddeus,
Yes.
you notice that the door is open. The rest of you You notice that, for instance, the menu next to the door appears to have been changed at least sometime in the last year.
Great.
You know, it's got a bit of sun yellowing, but it's a perfectly recent sort of menu. As you step inside the lobby, as I say, Thaddeus is distracted or just overwhelmed with surprise at the state of the place. That's up to you.
And it's
Yes.
positively historical.
Indeed. The rest of you notice that inside the little hall there's loads of etchings and
Ooh,
not that kind.
okay.
And
Check. You never know.
no, and drawings of the town in happier days, including a rather lovely watercolour of a large tower house with red tiled roofs.
That would explain why it was called the.
Indeed.
Yes, I'm sure.
You also notice that there's a rack of many, many brochures and leaflets.
Oh God.
They all seem to be about things to do and see in the area around Crimsonkeep. About half of them seem to be for Crimsonkeep itself, for the town. About half of the remainder seem to be about the castle, and the remaining quarter of them is, you know, things in the landscape around the place and specific locations within the town. And,
Okay, we need to be very careful. This is a very dangerous place. This is a tourist information inn. They're deadly. Just to forewarn you now.
And Ashton, Aether, and Hacrius, you notice that there's no sign that anybody's taken any leaflets since this was last restocked. That could have been this morning, it could have been a year and a half ago. There's no way to tell.
I'm
There's-
actually going to go and have a look at the ones that detail the castle.
Okay. You grab a leaflet. It's a leaflet. It gives you a bit of history about the castle. But in the usual sort of trifold leaflet touristy terms.
Yeah.
It talks about the remarkable architecture and the very picturesque surroundings and how it once was home to a family that it doesn't seem to mention the name of.
Really?
And how it once had a garrison of several dozen guards. And that it was... it suffered a tragic event in about 85 Glaze. So about 250 odd years ago.
Oh dear.
Now in front of you is a staircase with a little sign next to it saying rooms, and then the numbers below it. But since the rooms are 1 to 8 and there's only one level up on this staircase, the numbers seem rather redundant. To your right there's a little door with a brass plate on it marked reception, and the door to the left says public lounge.
I mean, since we're here, we might as well explore.
Hmm.
Reception or public lounge?
Reception.
Sounds like a plan. I'm going to hang on to the castle brochure just out of sheer pique.
In case anyone's wondering, the image I've got in my head for this place is the pub that Dorothy L. Sayers stayed at while she was writing. What was it called? 5 Red Herrings.
Huh.
It's the ship in Gatehouse of Fleet in Scotland. They do a rather good grilled duck sandwich. Not that I grew up there or anything.
No, not at all.
Anyway, you open the door to the reception. As you go in, there is a ding!
Oh god, he's got one of those.
Of course they've got one of those.
Meep.
Is there a bell over the door?
Yep.
Uh-huh.
One of those little bells dangling on a spring so that when you open the door it rattles about a bit.
It.
And
Bloody annoying.
I mean, it would probably be more annoying to just stand there waiting for someone to turn up who doesn't know you're there.
True. But it's when they know that you've come in through the door and they still don't appear.
Hmm.
That's just rude.
But then again, was there a bell on the door?
Yeah.
On the door to the reception, yes.
Yes. But not to the inn itself.
True. But we've gone through the door to the reception. Hence the bing.
Yes. Give the man, woman, creature some time to get here, perhaps.
Yes. In fact, it takes rather less time than you've spent chatting now. Before a drow woman turns up, who will arrive as soon as the upload is finished.
Playing a mandolin or just casually holding it?
Sliding in, playing a sick ass guitar.
I was going to say. With 4 bottles at her feet, goodness me.
Yes, her arrival is heralded by dan, da da dan, da da dan.
Thinking more wild stallion.
No, she doesn't actually have the banjo with her at the moment.
Oh, that's disappointing.
It's concealed underneath her cloak. Or skirt.
It could be. She has a concealed carry license for her banjo.
That's okay then, as long as it's legal.
What time of day is it?
Let's see, you left in the morning. It's a short drive, so it's probably about lunchtime.
Good afternoon, miss.
Hello. What can I do for you?
Well, we're wondering if you could tell us more about this fascinating place.
I could do. We certainly can help you out with that. We've got a guided tour leaving at 3 o'clock. It goes every day at 3. It'll be nice to have some visitors there for it today.
And where does
Actually
that
doing
guided
it
tour
all.
go?
Oh, all over. You'll see the entire city, including the castle, of course. You can't go into all of the buildings because obviously many of them aren't safe. But you'll see everything. It's a lovely place. And you'll be back here in time for dinner. Do you have a room booked?
Sorry. Ashton's going to have to go outside and start sobbing quietly.
There's no need for a room. We brought our own accommodation with us.
Brought your own? Are you camping?
Not quite. Tell me, is there anything particularly interesting to see here other than the castle?
Other than the castle? We've got a lovely bridge.
Yes, we saw that already.
The castle's nice.
Oh, sob, sob, sob.
I mean, really, the history here is more the thing. It's a sort of gestalt thing rather than anything in particular.
Sob, sob, sob.
If you could give us the history of the castle in, say, 100 words or less.
Oh, 100 words or less. Oh, that's a challenge. It's a fascinating place, you see. And really, that's not doing it justice in 100 words or less.
Ask about the family.
Well, can you tell me about the family that's mentioned in this brochure? And Ashton, if you want to talk, I mean, you can stop hissing in my ear. You haven't brushed your teeth today. It smells awful.
Excuse me?
You're excused, but really don't let it happen again.
I might have to start thinking evil thoughts here.
Well, the family that lived there several centuries ago, this was a thriving industrial town called Redcastle, and we had a huge amount of technology and industry here, far beyond what you'd find anywhere else in Linity, possibly all of Oromar. And, do you know, many of the settlements around here thought that we were running on magic, just because they couldn't understand the technology that we were using. I know, it's amazing. And obviously with all that industry and trade and technology came considerable wealth. And so we had the city guard, we had a garrison in the castle, and they all needed training. So every year, the Lord of the Manor would challenge thieves once a year to come in and attempt to rob him. And if any contestants survived, they got to keep some of their loot and got free passage out of the town. So some artifacts from here made their way into the wider world, and built up, I'm afraid, a slightly mythical reputation. But anyway, this started to draw a bit of a crowd. And, well, things went downhill from there. Because with those crowds who came to watch the exercise, there were also rather more criminals that turned up to take part in it. And eventually, many of those criminals started just turning up and not taking part in the exercise, and just doing their own thing in the town around it, which was less helpful. And so the people of Redcastle got rather tired of all of this, and did the whole torches and pitchfork thing to get rid of the criminals, and as it happened, they got rid of the Lord of the Manor as well.
A bit harsh.
Yes, so there was what we like to call the Battle of Redcastle, where we had the villagers on one side, the guards on another, and all these criminals on a third. So they eventually managed to fight off all these crooks, and they got ejected from the town. but at a considerable cost. And, well, it's not a chapter we like to talk too much about until the third quarter of an hour of the guided tour. But yes, that's basically what happened.
How old does this woman seem to be?
Hard to say, really. How familiar are you with Drow?
Well, I am an elf, and drows are elves, so I
Yes.
would say quite.
You would say she probably is no more than 80 or 90.
And
Say
yet she's
what?
speaking.
Say again?
She's a teenager.
Pretty much.
And she's talking as if she lived through it.
Yes, I was a bit curious about the
Yeah.
part.
I mean, she is front desk in a pub
Well, true enough.
Yeah.
that specialises in tourist attractions.
Hello, little boy. What are you up to?
Oh, not much.
You're a good boy. Yes, you are. You're bringing in all the seats again. Yes, yes, you are.
Right.
I'm intrigued now as to who actually does the guided tour, because it can't be her, because she's got to be on the front desk just in case more people come.
Depends how busy this place is.
That's true. This is somewhere that's changing the menu and has a fully stocked brochure thing. Oh my lord! I'm
I
excited
try
to do
to
that.
just put up a sign back in an hour when it's time for the tour.
Possible.
I mean, you don't want to miss customers.
Oy.
So, alright, have a seat back at this hour. The biscuits are free.
Ashton's going to wander off behind the inn because no. I'm going to start sort of moving up to whatever the next bits are. I can't take the tourist attractions anymore.
Okay, so you're just going to turn your back and wander out.
Well, I did say I was, as she started all of this, I'd wandered. After hissing at Aether, and then being so rudely told that my breath stinks, I left.
Well, I can smell it from outside. I mean, good grief.
I am going to do
eating
something
garlic
horrible to
sandwiches.
him.
Garlic and
Seriously, going to do
stilton, I
something
think.
horrible things to him. I really can. I got a couple of things that I could do. That would work. Ooh, or that. Yeah. What's my character again?
Will you be wanting to join the tour?
I think we're particularly interested in having a look at the castle, to be honest.
I think we can definitely arrange a tour of the castle. Obviously, normally it's not possible to go inside, but by appointment we could arrange that.
I don't see why not. Sure, let's go this afternoon then.
Marvellous. Just meet by the statue outside. At about 2:30.
2:30. 2:30 is fine. 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 2:30 is fine What's the time now?
About 1:30.
At 2:30.
There's time for lunch if you want it. Otherwise, the seating in the public lounge looks quite comfy.
Oh, I say we just built time until then.
Okay.
Depending on how much time that is.
You have a seat. You can have some pub grub or a drink or whatever in the meantime if you like, and soon enough it's time for the tour. And the tour, of course, is set to depart from just outside the back of the pub. Anything else you want to do before you go there?
No.
No.
All right.
Good afternoon.
Yeek!
Apparently, it's led by Daleks.
Exterminate. We'll educate.
Or masturbate. Don't procrastinate.
Why evaluate?
I'd rather procreate.
Whilst prevaricate.
This is the mandate.
Yeah! Ain't it great?
Condensate. Have you got socks?
No.
No, but the dog has just swallowed my socks.
Cool.
Socks doesn't rhyme with 8.
No,
No, I
it
know.
doesn't. But her chewing them
Were
up is
those
like-
socks you ate? Would work.
The socks she wants to have 8 in. Bad England, I know. I'm just going to go get them off her.
Yes. As you're standing there by the big plinth thing behind the pub, the door opens from the sort of admin side of the pub, and the figure you see there steps out.
Eep! Okay.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Has your friend wandered off?
What?
Your friend who was here just now, has he wandered off? Will he be joining us?
Are you the lady who was on the reception?
No.
Have you gone blind?
Right.
I presume you're talking about Carrie, our front desk girl.
Vocoders are us. But to answer your question, he will be back. He's just fighting a dog for some socks.
I hear that's a common problem for tourists.
What have I missed?
Well, this person has come out to apparently do the tour.
So, are you the guide for the day?
I am Mayor Cogswell, mayor of this fine city.
And, pardon my rudeness, but what are you?
Ah, I see you've never seen an automaton before.
Right.
I believe the dwarves call us Warforged, but Machines are pretty much of a much, really.
Aether's just gonna sort of like lean in a little bit close and just sort of like poke it.
She rests her left hand on the hilt of her gun.
You might not want to do that again, Aether.
Leans back a bit. I'm just gonna sort of like shuffle myself to the back of the group.
Just for clarity, we are automata, but we are sentient.
Yeah, well, I've met some people that weren't.
I am now intrigued. Continue, Your Excellency.
Certainly. Now, I believe Carrie's given you a brief summary of the town's history.
Indeed.
And, well, how far did she get?
The particular battle that you don't normally like to talk about.
The ransacking, if you will.
We had specifically said we were most interested in the castle itself.
Ah, yes. Red Castle, once named for its lovely red-tiled roof. But alas, in those final days of Red Castle, known more for its once luxurious halls running red with gore.
Ooh. Indeed.
Do you know, in that great battle, over 1,200 thieves and murderers died, along with fully a third of the town's population, 2,000 villagers and guardsmen.
So Crimsonkeep for more than one thing.
Yes, we had a slight rebranding effort after that.
Half of Ashton really wants to know what did they do with the bodies. The other half is trying very hard to keep that half quiet.
So how long ago was this?
This was in 85 Glaze.
250 years-ish.
Thereabouts.
And were you around back then, Coxwell?
Cogswell. Yes. Most of us, essentially the only remaining members of the native population here, are automata.
So how many live in the town today?
17. It's something of a reduction from the peak population, which is almost 6,000.
Oh, well, I'm sure you'll get back up there soon. You know, it's just a little bit of effort needs to be put in. Grinding of the loins and all that. Or welding of the gears, maybe.
Well, we have ordered a bulk shipment of WD-40 and duct tape, so we have our fingers crossed.
The WD-40 should help with uncrossing them.
I would, but they've rusted together. Anyway. Yes, as you see, if you look over at the buildings in the corner there, you'll notice quite a lot of burn marks and scorching, which of course is from the fires started during that final battle. And afterwards the survivors dispersed, seeking new lives elsewhere. And, well, those of us who were left spent the next few years gathering up and disposing of the bodies, mostly.
professional curiosity, is there an actual graveyard, or how did you make sure that the dead were able to reach their final resting place?
I'm no theologian, I'm afraid. Our local hierophants did whatever they do. I'm afraid funerary rites aren't something we generally concern ourselves with.
Ah,
You see, I told you those were for you
understood.
here.
But
Makes a note.
if you're interested, I'm sure I could ask one of my associates to show you out to the fields.
Fields. You didn't just abandon them on the surface.
No, of course not.
Oh, thank goodness. Featherstone be praised.
Or
I
just
would
leave them in a
actually.
big pile, maybe.
No, we just buried them in the in whatever manner the Hierophant suggested. It's a long time ago now, but I believe they were in batches of 64.
Ah.
Mass grave it is then.
Yes, I'm afraid the individual plots were not practical.
Yeah. I may wander out later. Please continue.
Yes. Well, that's about it for what happened here, I suppose. Yes. Ever since then, we've been working on cleaning the place up, restoring what we could, and of course, passing on the local history. We mostly get people interested in the technology, of course, who've heard the legends. Perception check from everyone, please.
Okay.
Behave. Perception.
I think Aether's too distracted by the Warforged.
16.
Okay. Thaddeus, Garrus, and Ashton, you recognize the symbol that she's carrying. You catch a glimpse of the other side of it, and it is in fact the same seal that is on the medallion you found. So she starts showing you around, pointing out buildings here and there. And here's the docks. Oh, what a lovely ship you have, and that sort of thing. Pointing out where the old watch houses were, and you get the impression that she's walked this route many times before. After the docks, she walks you about halfway onto the iron bridge and indicates the fields on the point to the south, and says to Ashton that that's where the mass graves are. Then you can continue clockwise out through the southwest gate, and then following the wall around on the outside to see the lovely stonework. What's left of it. And then back in at the west gate and across to the green, if I can move her out of the way.
Thank you. Is that what the void is?
That is the green, yes. And then up this sort of parade street to the gatehouse of the castle.
And here, of course, we have the Red Castle itself. It's believed to have been built in this incarnation around, yes, we believe around 650 green.
What? What?
What kind of state is the castle in? Is it in disarray? Is it still well functioning?
Well, you know the castles that are run by like Historic Scotland and British English Heritage and so on?
Very well.
It's very tidy, but it's clearly been through the walls. So bits of it are ruined. You see here where it's got this sort of outer courtyard leading to an inner gatehouse there. The wall down here is just gone. And this gatehouse is pretty knackered as well. So there's bits missing here and there. There are holes in the walls. There's no sign of any glass left in it anywhere. But everything is very clean. The stonework has been touched up with mortar and so on to make it safe. And she walks you through this way.
And here we have the old gatehouse. Obviously it sustained heavy damage during the fighting. And if we go round the corner here, we come to the grand porch. Facing, as it does, northeast to catch the dawn sun, just like you would find in a traditional heliurgical church.
Interesting.
And along the inside of the walls, you'll see the various ancillary buildings. We believe that was the smithy, and the longer building there, we believe, was a barracks.
So right now we're right up next to the castle, aren't we?
Yeah, right now you're standing in front of the grand porch.
I'm going to lean in and nudge Thaddeus and go, "Do your thing. Do your thing."
You say you believe. Didn't you tell us earlier that you were around back then?
Good question.
I wasn't working in the castle specifically.
Were you the mayor then?
And I was not. I've only been the mayor for the last 120 years, I believe.
Ah, so you got an upgrade.
Yes.
So it seems you keep this place quite neat. Do you have many visitors?
Not as many as we'd like. We have a few every season. Maybe 20 or 30.
Do they come for any particular thing, or are they just interested in following the history of the place?
We get some pure tourists, mostly travellers heading elsewhere who stumble across this place. Occasionally people who just come here without realising that it's ruined, of course. And of course there are always those seeking their fortunes.
What do you mean by that?
Well, you may have heard legends of the wealth and technology of Red Castle. And there are some who believe that it's still abundant here and that artifacts remain to be found.
Do you think there still are, or do you think it's all been thoroughly looted by now?
Some remain, of course. We have a museum where we've gathered what we've found. But we have nowhere near the abundance that was here in its heyday.
Oh, where's this museum?
It's just next to the inn. It'll be this building here.
Be worth a look.
Mm-hmm.
Mayor Cogswell?
Yes.
May I ask a question?
Of course, that's why we're here.
Was there any, what's the word I'm looking for? Connection between the Red City and Tadpole Abbey to the south of here?
Connection? We had the occasional cleric come up from there. Is that...
There was,
Sorry, two of you spoke at the same time then.
Do go on.
so there wasn't any reason for any of your the employees of the Red Keep to come down to Tadpole Abbey?
Not that I know of. Red Castle frequently had scouts travelling the country looking for artifacts, of course, but I can't imagine they would have, unless they were seeking shelter at the Abbey overnight. Why have you... This is intriguing.
Well, whilst what's the word I'm looking for? Perusing some of the I am myself a cleric of Feniston, and I was intrigued to find within the walls of Tadpole Abbey a very ornate and well maintained mausoleum. But in one of the sarcophagi, which was open, there was the body of a person. I am assuming male because of the pelvis. who had one of your medallions. The symbol that you have on your what's the word I'm looking for? Your badge of office?
Oh, yes, the Great Seal.
Yes. He was wearing that as a medallion.
Oh, certainly sounds like it could have been one of the scouts. Do you mind if I take a look?
I don't know if we brought it with us, did we?
No, well, unless one of you go to when we left.
Actually, considering I'm able to remember it, I think I probably did, because it wasn't supposed to be there. So I will show him my apologies, the medallion.
She holds it up and a sort of scanning laser beam kind of thing lances out and scans it. And she peers at an otherwise completely unremarkable spot on the back of it.
Yes,
Can you-
fascinating.
Why is that fascinating?
Well, every so often, scouts disappear. And this is the medallion belonging to one of those who did not return.
Well,
That will certainly bring closure.
I'm sorry, say again?
That will certainly bring closure.
Ah, indeed. Although I would like to be able to repair the doors within the mausoleum. It looks as if this particular person, Scout, you say, was trying to access the doors, and the lock mechanism that he was trying to open flew out, impacting severe blunt force trauma to the chest, which apparently is what killed him. Now, I can only assume that he had people with him, because I don't believe that he managed to put himself within the open sarcophagus. And also, the locking mechanism that he was trying to open was not on him.
A reasonable assumption.
The reason that I am here is I would like to retrieve, as part of Feniston's worship, I would like to retrieve the part of the mausoleum that has been taken and reinstall it to where it should be. Would you know of anything that had been brought back by possibly other scouts that he would have been with? This would have been about, I think if I remember rightly, I did have that. That was. It's about sort of from the time of the, obviously when when this was Red Castle versus Crimsonkeep. So I can only assume it was around the time before the event happened. Would you know of anything that was brought here, possibly in your museum?
There have been a great many artifacts over the years. They were collected as, I suppose you could think of it as a sort of worship in itself. Could you describe the object? Do you know anything about it?
I know that the doors that it was on, I am assuming it is a locking mechanism. The doors themselves were brass. Hang on, let me go back into my notes. Brass plaques. No. The doors themselves were copper, with engineering or clockwise designs, and there was a lozenge space where it had been removed. And I will sort of describe the size of the lozenge. Certainly the trauma that was there and the empty hole in the doors. I can only assume it was equally engraved with sort of clockwork and or engineering designs, and I can assume it was copper, but I cannot be certain.
She stares off into space for a moment, as if searching a database.
I have several results that could match that description. I don't believe any of them are on display at the moment.
Sadly, Ashton will have to stop you there because I've just had a text from my son, so I will have to go and collect him.
Okay.
As Thaddeus says, I will be right back. Somebody listen!
How's Aether doing for his dinner date?
Cutting it close.
Okay. Well, Ashton's wandered off, presumably inspecting the lovely stonework.
So if the item is not on display in the museum, where would it be?
Possibly in the castle, in the rubble somewhere. If only one of us had a find object spell.
It's kind of limited.
How so?
I actually have to know the thing I'm looking for.
Fair point.
Yes, most of the things that aren't on display are stored under the keep.
Oh, there we go.
Could we possibly have a look at it?
I'm sure that could be arranged. It's very unusual, you understand. We don't often get visitors interested in visiting the vaults. But yes, it could certainly be arranged. I will ensure that you have an escort with you, of course.
Of course.
Of course.
Yes, I think I know just the people. In the meantime, yes, I believe they'll be back after dinner, so we can set off then.
All right, sounds good.
The dining room opens in 18 minutes. If you would like to walk with me back to the inn, and you might even have time to glance into the museum.
Yes, that's good. Lead on.
That's excellent.
Roughly how far is it between the museum and the keep?
About a 15-minute walk, if you're taking it leisurely.
I'll need a measurement. Since the spell in question has a range of 1,000 yards. 1,000 feet.
Kind of borderline at 1,000 feet.
Yes,
That's
but I'm
what,
actually
350
thinking
meters?
if I should stop in the midway between them, would both be within 333 meters from me? i.e. is it more than 666 meters between the keep and the museum?
I was thinking 700. What we could say... Do you have any rolls on it?
Not really. I can link it for you.
Mm-hmm.
There it is. I need to know the item or just generally search for some sort of thing. I was thinking of the fact that I can actually
Yeah.
look for the other half of Hakria's book should be specific enough, I would say.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to conserve spell slots and getting both locations in one casting.
Well, let's say that if whatever you're looking for is in either of those locations, then you might just get a weaker return.
Right. Then I will stop roughly halfway in between, to the best of my ability, and do a casting of that spell.
Alright.
See if I get any sort of indication. As I only get the direction, I will keep concentrating on it and moving closer towards it if I should actually get a ping, so to say.
So basically dowsing for loot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hence why the material component is a forked twig.
Yes. Which object are you looking for?
The other half of Hakria's journal.
There's nothing... You get no indication of it.
Right. Yeah, it's worth a try.
Yep. Anyone else want to do anything on your way back towards the inn and the museum?
Not particularly from my side, and I'm afraid I'm going to have to go soon as well.
Yeah. Well, we did say it would be a short session today.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well-
in a minute.
We could call it a day there and reconvene after your in-game dinner.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Excellent.
Right. Well, thank you very much. And these I've managed to catch up.
And next session you'll meet Abigail and Bruce.
So you're going to say level up.
And Bruce is based on a South African I once met.
Oh dear, are you going to do the accent?
I mean, imagine everyone would be very disappointed if I didn't.
Oh, if you don't, I'm going to be highly offended.
I was once
I'd
driving.
be very confused if you do, but
It's okay, I can translate.
I was once driving through Durban with my then father-in-law, and he sees a car in front of us, so he sort of flashes him down, pulls up behind him, and a bloke gets out, and they sort of, do the whole jolly handshakes and greetings thing, and he says, "This is my son-in-law," and so on, and the guy says, "How's it? I'm Bruce. I used to break legs for your father-in-law."
Hey, someone.
Yeah.
I'll catch you guys on the next one, whenever that might be.
Yep.
Alright.
And I see we've had some viewers on the Twitch, which is nice.
imagine that.
Yeah. There we go. And I'll let Jen know that we're calling it for the day. And we'll see you next time.
All right.
Have fun.
Bye bye.
You too. Bye.